What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing good today. And I think it's time that we swing right back into one of the most polarizing topics with the Seattle Seahawks right now. Everybody's favorite thing to discuss with the Seattle Seahawks at this moment: Geno Smith, the quarterback. What is his future with this team? Does he have a future with this team? What does that future look like? How long will that future be? That is the stuff we need to talk about with Geno Smith right now. And I say that for a very specific reason. So, first, let me lay out the brass tacks of this video. Let me lay out the reality of the situation as I see it. Because that's more important than my own editorialization, right? That's just me sounding off on how I feel at any given time. But then there's the actual facts of the situation that we're in. And as of right now, as I record this video, there is no indication that Pete Carroll is going anywhere this offseason. There is no indication that Pete Carroll is going to be fired or retire or traded or anything like that. That can change. That can change at any time. But as of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And that relates to the Geno Smith conversation very closely because bottom line is this: if the Seattle Seahawks keep Pete Carroll, I do not think there is any chance they move off of Geno Smith. I believe that Pete Carroll and Geno Smith are attached at the hip. Now, that's not to say that a new coach might cut Geno Smith automatically, but if Pete is staying, Geno is staying. I do not see Carroll moving off of Geno for any reason this offseason. So, as I stand here right now, or sit here right now, looking at this team, seeing Pete Carroll likely to return next year as head coach, I see Geno Smith returning as the quarterback. And I know a lot of people are going to be unhappy about that. A lot of people don't like that. Personally, me, this is one of the things that I don't mind about bringing Carroll back. It makes it much easier to have Geno Smith continue to be the starter. And that is something I have zero problem with. So we're going to have to talk about that a little bit here. And this is obviously a topic of great debate within this fan base. A lot of people don't like Geno. They don't want him to be back. A lot of people want to draft a new quarterback or go get a new quarterback. So I want to talk about why I believe that of all the things that Pete Carroll will probably do for this upcoming season that won't work, if I'm right and he brings back Geno Smith for 2024, this is one of the things that can work. And I want to take a look at Geno's season this year. So, surface level, a lot of people out there will tell you that Geno Smith was bad this year. A lot of people will tell you that Geno Smith played poorly this year. He dropped off, his numbers took a hit, and it proves that he was a one-hit wonder, and he's not good, and all these other things that people say that is not backed by any kind of actual data, or at the very least, it's not backed by meaningful data. It's just based on, I don't know, gut feelings and emotions, I guess. That's all I ever see with it. And technically speaking, some of the stats are down, definitely. Of course, the volume stats don't really matter very much when he missed 2.5 games in totality this season because of injuries, whereas he didn't miss a single snap in 2022. So things like yards and touchdowns and even interceptions and rushing yards, like that stuff is of very little consequence when the volume changes, partially because the opportunities go down. Like he threw 73 extra passes in 2022 compared to 2023. So, of course, the yards are going to go down, the touchdowns are going to go down, etc., etc., etc. Now, even in terms of efficiency, he did have a worse season. Now, I don't believe that what he put up, just in a vacuum, I don't think the numbers he put up are particularly bad. His QB rating dropped about 9 points, still in a state where it's, compared to other quarterbacks, about average. His QBR dropped about 3 points, but it's still borderline top 10 for quarterbacks that actually played most of the season. His yards per game was borderline top 10 among all quarterbacks that played most of the season. And The completion percentage went down significantly, yes, but his completion percentage over expected was still positive. It wasn't one of the highest in the league anymore, but it was high. It was good. It was where you want to be as a quarterback. So, first of all, just initially, I reject this idea that, oh, his stats went through the floor. He's awful now. Look at his numbers. His numbers are so much worse than they were this year. They are worse. But I want to take a look at another number that really needs to be dissected a little bit here, that I think really needs to be understood to get the context here. And that's what I think is missing when we have these Geno Smith discussions. Context. People don't want to have context on this. So let's try to have a little bit of context here. I'm looking at this sack number. Last year, plays every game, 46 sacks. This year, he misses about 2.5 games, 31 sacks. He cuts his sack numbers dramatically. And it's not just a matter of less volume either. His sack rate goes from 7.4 to 5.8. Now here's a little bit of trivia, although I kind of spoiled this in a previous video that I made talking about the offense. When was the last time a Seahawks quarterback had a sack rate below 6%? Because that's where Geno came in this year, 5.8. How often do you see a quarterback for the Seahawks play most of the season and have a sack rate below 6%? I'll tell you this right now. Russell Wilson did not do it once. His sack rates in Seattle, 7.6, 7.8, 8.5, 10.7, 7.2, 7, 8.5, 8.5, 9.8, 7.7. Never even came close to 6%, much less sub 6%. The closest he got was 7% in 2016. Okay, what about Tavares Jackson? He started for the Seahawks 1 year. What was his sack rate? 8.5. Not even close. You have to go all the way back to Matt Hasselbeck. And not his last year. That was 6.1. 2009, no, 6.2. 2008, he missed most of the season. That shouldn't even really count. He only played 7 games. 8.3. But you actually have to go all the way back to 2007. 5.5. 2007 to find a Seahawks quarterback with a lower sack rate than Geno Smith's in 2023. Matt Hasselbeck, 2007. And for those of you out there who don't remember 2007, Matt Hasselbeck was being protected by Walter Jones, who was protecting Geno Smith. And that is going to kind of form the genesis of my Geno argument here. And I am making an argument for Geno, and I know that there are some people out there who don't understand why I defend Geno so much, why I think he's so good. It's quite simply because I think it would be really, really hard to get a quarterback right now better than Geno Smith. You could lay the groundwork to get a better quarterback than Geno Smith down the line, but getting a quarterback better than Geno Smith right now for the 2024 Seattle Seahawks, virtually impossible as far as I'm concerned. It's the grass is greener thing, right? Like Russell Wilson. We learned the grass was greener with Russell Wilson. Not only did we learn the grass was greener, we learned that our grass wasn't even green. It was actually really brown and prickly. We just didn't realize it until it was over. Pete Carroll. I do think the grass is greener. I can't prove it for sure. We're not going to know until we get another coach. I do think the grass is greener with somebody like Ben Johnson or Jim Harbaugh. But that's my opinion. But in those cases, yes, I think the grass can be greener. So I don't always think the grass isn't greener. But with Geno Smith, absolutely. I think people think the grass is greener, and I just don't see it that way. And here's one of the big reasons why. So Geno Smith turns in this season with a miraculous sack rate of 5.8%. And let's take a look at his pressure numbers in 2023 compared to 2022. So let's focus in on a few different numbers here that I want to highlight here. So in 2022, his pocket time, which PFR qualifies as the average amount of time the quarterback had in the pocket between the snap and either throwing the ball or the pocket collapsed in seconds, Geno's pocket time went down from 2.4 to 2.2, which means a combination of two things. He was throwing the ball quicker and the pocket was collapsing faster. So the offensive line got worse. And we didn't even need a number to tell us that, right? We know. We watched the offensive line. The offensive line was worse from 2022 to 2023. It got worse because Cross got hurt, Lucas got hurt. There was no upgrade at center. Damian Lewis regressed big time. We didn't upgrade at right guard. We had a bunch of injuries to make what we already had even worse. So the offensive line got worse, and Geno Smith adjusts by getting the ball out of his hands faster so he doesn't get sacked as much. And by the way, pressure rate goes up over 2%. In 2022, pressure rate 22.5%. 2023, 24.7%. So he got pressured more, his pockets were less reliable, and he still adjusted to have a very low sack rate, only get sacked 31 times. So you're basically looking at a little more than 2 a game compared to almost 3 a game the previous year. And this is all despite having an incredibly injured offensive line and a not very good offensive line. Remember the chart I showed earlier? I'm going to show it again. Yeah, bottom 4 in the aggregate for pass protection, 29th in the league. So the offensive line regresses for a couple different reasons, and yet the quarterback manages to continue to make things happen, good things happen, not great things, but good things, with that offensive line regressing. He adjusts the way that he plays so that he leaves the pocket or throws the ball sooner, adjusting for that bad offensive line. So how many quarterbacks out there could have done it like this? How many quarterbacks out there do you think could have adjusted to a significantly worse offensive line and still managed to keep up relatively strong levels of production? I want to take a look at one more thing before we get out of here. I want to take a look at the other teams that are near the bottom of the league in this pass blocking aggregate score. I want to focus in mostly on this bottom 7, really. So the Giants are last place. Where do the Giants rank in points scored per game? They rank 30th, so 3rd worst. Okay, the Jets, they're the next worst. Where do they rank? 29th, one of the worst offenses. Patriots, where do the Patriots offense rank? Rock bottom. Tied for rock bottom with the Panthers. Okay, how about the Titans? Where does the Titans offense rank? Right near the bottom as well, just barely outside the bottom 5. So what is that, 27th? Very bad. Panthers, rock bottom, worst offense, tied with New England. Steelers, bottom 5 offense. So all of the worst offenses are also the teams that have the worst offensive line pass blocking scores, except for the Seahawks. The Seahawks are actually about average in points scored. They're 17th, like I said earlier today. How is that possible? How can you be this bad at protecting the quarterback and still average at scoring points when every other team that is in the same realm of badness is literally making up the bottom 6? Literally, it's identical. Well, not identical 1-to-1, but it's the same 6 teams at the bottom of the league in points and the bottom of the league in this pass protection aggregate score. Once you get past the very bottom and get up to like the Saints, Niners, Bengals, you do get a little bit better. Some of these teams have overcome lackluster offensive lines, but only one team has overcome a terrible pass protecting offensive line. The Seahawks. How is that possible? How could that be happening? In order for it to happen, you need to have some real wizardry from your other positions. You need to have quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, offensive coordinator, all these things working at a very high level to overcome this. And notice how I mentioned quarterback in there? Yeah, so that is the genesis of my argument for being okay with keeping Geno Smith for 2024. There's every reason to believe that if you get him a real offensive line, he will be back to what he was in 2022, if not better. Why not? What's stopping him? All right, so that's what I have to say about the Geno Smith stuff. I wanted to say it to prepare people because I really think Geno will be our starting quarterback next year. Maybe we draft a quarterback, but it won't be until later in the draft. It'll be a project. It'll be somebody who starts by year 2 or year 3. And I expect Geno to continue to be our starting quarterback until it's no longer profitable and beneficial to keep him in that role. And for all the reasons I just described in this video, I am okay with that. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. just wanted to give you guys something to think about going into the off season.